Hi everybody, this is Gary Wilson and welcome to this week's live Investor Agent webinar. We are live and recording and a little bit of housekeeping. Some of you are fairly new to the program and the way this training level webinar works. This is for everybody in the program who's in at this time. You submit subjects to me to cover, so I'm going to go over something tonight that we haven't gone over for quite a while, and there's been a lot of questions from students who are actively engaged with investors. And there's a certain process you want to learn and follow that we're going to go over tonight. Okay, so that's what we're going to cover tonight. But just a little bit of housekeeping. If you are new, welcome aboard, by the way, no matter where you're from. You'll notice that you're by default in mute mode. Everybody is by default because it's kind of hard to have, 100 people who are all trying to talk at the same time. However, we use your question box to type in questions. I will from time to time unmute you. We've done that probably once every couple of months. We'll do that depending on the subject and the question and so forth. And it all is recorded. So even if you're watching this in a recorded mode, not tonight, of course, but sometime in the future, you can stop and start the recording. There's a lot of reasons why you want to watch the recording. By the way, Beverly sends the email out the very next day that has the recording on it of the webinar. In this example, tonight's webinar, she also gives you some information that she's passing on, what we've added to the program, what we've changed. There's always seems to be something that's coming up. For example, we've got to change what we're doing on Facebook. That actually, Raul brought that up from El Paso. He wanted to see if he can get that module, and I realized that Facebook just changed some feature and functionality. So we're gonna redo that component and have another webinar just on that and record it so you can all have that. In any case, it's really important that you get the email from Beverly and actually look at it and look for any instructions she's given you or any information to pass on. The schedule of the webinars coming up, and of course the recording. Okay, it's all in there. So keep an eye out for that. And let's go ahead and let's get started here. Okay, so first things first. We're almost exactly mid-year, and a lot of you are out there producing. We're getting some awesome results. I mean, I can't remember which of you it was, but one of you just used a letter and got 4 listings in the first month by using the letter. And another person, Judith Johnson from Louisiana, she's from Mandeville, which is just above Lake Pontchartrain, north of New Orleans. Sent the letter out the day after, let's see, that would have been that would have been May 12th, Friday, May 12th. On the next day, Saturday, she got her first call from a gentleman who had a $3 million building. He's already given her all the information to sell it. And the next Tuesday, 4 days later, she got a second call from another person who has a 4-unit building also, okay? Also, a lot of people are doing the workshops, which is awesome, okay? Because that is one real fast way to get clients. Some of the folks from Cumming, Georgia, a series group, in fact, just did that. I think the week before last was Syria. I got the email update from David Evans. Sounds like you had a great turnout, and everybody was excited and coming back for more. So that is awesome news. In any case, I appreciate you providing me those updates. If all of you could do me a favor, every time you execute a campaign, I want to know what the results are. So send me what your results are. Okay, that helps us a lot because we can help other people with what you're doing, and we can also continue to improve what we're doing on our end. Having said that, there is something coming up here in a couple of weeks. In fact, 3 weeks from tomorrow, that webinar on Thursday, June 22nd, is actually a special circumstance webinar. So I don't want to say you shouldn't be on it if you're not ready for it, but what it is I'm going to introduce you to how you can do your own classroom for investors. So I want you to think about this. If you've done the workshop, you should definitely be on that webinar. If you haven't done the workshop, the basic workshop, and yet it's something you want to implement, at a minimum, you should definitely watch, go back to February of 2016. It's either the 18th or the 25th. I can't remember exactly which one it is. Matter of fact, let's just go there and see which one it is. Hang on one second. So let me split screen here and go to My Investment Services. MyInvestmentServices.com. So this is for everybody. It doesn't really matter which brokerage company you're with. I mean, we have people on here from several different brokerage companies. You want to go into the member area. Once you're on My Investment Services, everybody kind of write notes here. Come down here and click on members. Click on log into Silver here. You're all by default Silver level members. If you're like me, your login and password is going to populate automatically. All right, scroll down here. Go past the. By the way, the whoops, I didn't want to do that. Hang on one second. On this community site, guys, this is really, really important. You really need to get your profiles out here. I don't know what the heck that thing's doing there. Hang on. I just had a meeting Monday morning on Veterans Day with a colleague of mine over in London, England, and I'm definitely going over there to speak now, and it's probably going to be this, well, it's going to be this summer. We haven't picked the exact date. It could actually be September. But the reason is there's a lot of international investors investing in the States, okay? Obviously, that includes Canada, and by the way, welcome aboard to all of our Canadian students here. I will be back in Canada, not this weekend, the following weekend. But we have investors from all over, really all over the world. So I'm going there to teach them how to invest in the United States. And those that participate are going to go through a brief training, then they're going to get access to this platform where you should be having your own profile. And what that means is these international investors will find you directly. And just to explain to you how important this is, we've got a lot of them over here, a lot of internationals investing. A lot of you have your ethnic background. You're from China, you're from Poland, Russia, Israel. We have students from all over here. And you have family members, you have colleagues and friends who are investing from your home countries here in the United States, okay? What's happening is they if you think about it, there's a lot of fear involved with that. I mean, they're investing overseas. They want to have more information. They want to have more tools. They want to have contacts with people like us who know how to work with investors. So it's really, really important that you put your profile out here, because they're coming on here to find you, and you don't have to pay for that. That's part of your training platform. You get to be on here for free, at least for the first year. They find you directly. You just earn yourself a commission just by being on here with your profile. Now, we've had students. One of our students has an investor from China who has brought in $20 million to invest here in the States. Okay, matter of fact, it was in Alabama. So how about that, huh? In any case, let me get back on the subject here. I just wanted to show that to you. Here's what I want you to do between now and June 22nd. Watch this webinar right here, where it says, watch our webinar, How to Use Meetup. It's only like 15 minutes. It's based on a contest I did in Louisiana, and people who did the meetup the way I teach it were getting tremendous results. Everybody does. You want to watch that, and if you scroll down, go all the way into 2016, go to February 2016, and look for this right here, 2602-18. Watch that webinar. It talks about the workshop. So if you have not done the workshop yet, watch these two webinars, this one and the one I just showed you up top. And then if you want to be on the webinar on June 22nd, at least I'll feel like you're prepared to do that. And here's why, guys. The classroom technique that I'm going to show you how to participate in was responsible for me making as much as $800,000 a year in gross commission income, okay, just from that one technique. It's a little bit more advanced. You really should understand how the basic workshop works first, if not having actually done it. And then you'll be prepared to do the classroom scenario, which we're going to go over on the 22nd. So it's a special webinar. If it's not something you feel like you're ready for or want to do, please don't take up a spot, because we're booking up fast. We have a lot of veterans who are ready for this, and we only do this like literally once a year, okay? So it's kind of a unique, rare opportunity, but you kind of want to be prepared, all right? So in any case, let me go back to what I was going into here. Oops, hang on one second. Let me go back to this. Okay, back to tonight's subject. We're going to go over this step by step. This is a 12-step process I want you to learn and practice on your own And then after you've done it maybe 4 times on your own, then you can start using this with your clients. Now, before I get started, let me just quickly check for questions here, because I just went over some critical information about the what's coming up on June 22nd. Let's see. This is Shan Chen saying, what's the group name on Facebook? If we don't have a particular group on Facebook, you can go to the My Investment Services Facebook page. We do have a Facebook page on that, but there's not a private group for this. We can certainly do that, but quite frankly, we have enough going on between the weekly webinars, the one-on-one strategy calls, and the communications that go back and forth between us, sometimes almost daily. There's a lot of interaction, a lot of engagement. However, we can certainly do that. We've done that kind of thing before for certain circumstances, so we can certainly do that. In any case, that's the only question we had, so let me bring this back over. By the way, if you could let me know this, do me a favor. If you're interested in doing that classroom, could you please let me know? Just shoot me a message right here on the webinar. Just say, hey, Gary, I definitely want to do that. If you're really serious, let me know that, okay? All right, so back to this subject here. I want to go over this one first because it has to do with landlords, people buying rental properties. It's becoming more and more critical as we look at the economy and what's happening economically speaking. We know that we're in a shift. We can see the data. Now, we don't know when the actual bottom is going to start dropping. Nobody knows that. If we did, we'd all be, gajillionaires, right? The point is, though, is we need to be prepared. So what I've been encouraging people to do is start to slow down on the flipping and start to crank up on the buying rentals, all right? And I'm not saying you can't flip a home right now. That's not what I'm saying. The challenge is if you look back at the last recession, you think about what happened late August, early September 2007, that's when the stock market first took its first major dip, okay? Huge. I can't even remember how big it was, giant. And right after that, the real estate market started to dry up. A lot of lenders, in fact, 1/3 of our mortgage brokers basically just evaporated overnight. And thank goodness I had just done my last flip at the end of July of that year. I sold it literally the day I put the sign in the yard. And I remember thinking, I'm watching the stock market go up and down. It's teetering at the top. It goes up and up and up, then it starts to kind of teeter. I've seen that before. I've been investing since the 80s. And I thought, I'm going to start shifting some money out of the stock market and also slow down on the flipping. Thank goodness I did. And in fact, Warren Buffett said, like a year later, man, if I had $1 trillion, I'd buy all the houses in the universe. And he didn't buy houses. He actually bought Prudential. Prudential became now Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate, right? So in any case, the point is this. Nobody knew that was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen. We didn't know when it was going to happen. I just basically following my gut, right? I shifted some money out of the stock market, shifted my my children's college funding, and thank goodness I did. And I was really focusing on the rentals. And the reason this is so important is this. When we're heading down slope, what happens is fewer people buy homes and more people start renting. Now, we never really fully recovered from the last recession. In fact, the percentage of home ownership is at one of its lower levels, in at least in my lifetime. And the government's not even talking about how to correct that like they did back in the 70s and the 90s. Let's get more home ownership. Nobody's even thinking about that right now because we need to make sure that we're going to survive, right? So what happens is people who own rentals actually end up doing pretty good. Now, you have to own the right kind of rentals. You can't have too much of the junkers. You got to have some decent properties. And what happens is that with more demand on rental properties, it creates an increase in pricing. So the rents go up, So the people who have rentals actually look like they're doing pretty good, right? Now, here's the kicker. A lot of people think, well, they'll just hang on to the properties. Why would they sell? Well, as you increase rents, the value of those rentals go higher. And a lot of savvy investors who are on a cash basis, they actually will sell some of the properties that they've been maybe thinking of getting rid of and sell it for top dollar because the rents are higher and then people are looking to pick up rentals. And they'll go out there and invest themselves and look at other properties they really want to have, and they'll use cash. and they're going to compete with everybody else who's using loans. And the cash, people with cash will always succeed more than people getting loans. It's just a mathematical certainty. I'm not saying you shouldn't get loans. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is a cash buyer is going to get far more favorable responses than a person with loans will any day of the week. Okay, so we're focused on rentals. Here's what I want you to do. This is you working with a prospect, okay? We're going to just walk through this step by step. And this is exactly what I have done all those years, exactly in this order, every step, didn't miss a step, didn't do anything out of order, just did it exactly just like this. And what this does allows you to look at fewer properties, and on average we will look at 6 properties, not 60 or 100. We look at 6 and only make offers on 1 to maybe 3 of them. Okay, very rarely will we make offers on all of them. But these are the best of the best properties, not the most expensive, not the cheapest, simply the ones that make the most economic sense to invest in, okay? In fact, we don't necessarily look at the most expensive areas, and we definitely don't look at the cheapest areas. We look in the areas where there's a sweet spot. All right, so let's go through this. First things first, once somebody has responded to your marketing, maybe you did a workshop and people signed up with you, maybe you did the booklet and you've got the professionals and the business owners calling you. Once you establish your first meeting, which is over the phone, it's a conversation, okay? This isn't like owner-occupants. You don't have to go see these people in person. You can, just not required. Okay, so you get them on the phone and you go through your conversation. To them, it's a conversation. To you, it's an interview, okay? So you want to write that down. You want to interview every single person that you work with, okay? Really important. Now, at some point in the interview, you're going to be able to go over what their needs and wants are. You just basically do a needs wants analysis. And if you can go through some examples with them of flips, examples of rentals, they'll be able to say, oh, that sounds like what I want to do. So if you ever have a prospective client, a prospect, say something like, well, I just want to make money. Just go find me a good deal. I don't care what it is. You can't work with that kind of person. There's no way you can do that. You know, they got to get far more specific in what their needs and wants are. They'll know what they want once you show them some examples, okay? So in any case, you go through that. At some point in the conversation, they'll say, okay, what do we do next? What's now? Now you want to qualify them, okay? Now, you might remember from being in class with me personally, there's a minimum of 3 questions that you need to ask. You can ask definitely more. These are 3 must-ask questions. Number 1 is this. Ask them right away, what do you have in cash, okay? And don't beat around the bush. I mean, you've already presented yourself in a more business-like fashion. Okay, so you've got to find out right away what's their cash position. Second thing is ask them if they know what their credit score is. Okay, and I am interested in the credit score because I want to know if they can qualify for a loan if they have to get one. But more importantly, somebody who knows what their credit score is more likely to be on top of their financial game. Okay. They're gonna be engaged in monitoring their credit and taking care of income expense and all those things that are important to them and us. Okay. The third question is this: ask them if they have an available line of credit. Now, the cool thing is this: people who own businesses often have 2 lines of credit, one personal and one business. Really important for us because they can. They can move on a property and write a big giant check and tie it up pretty quickly. You know, they don't have to scrape pennies together to make a little piddly $500 down payment or hand money deposit. They can make something substantial that gets more favorable responses. It's another technique we use. It's kind of advanced. In any case, just ask them those 3 questions. Now, if they're not financially qualified to do anything, right there you just stop. You just say, well, let's do this. I'm going to connect you with a local lender who will see what you're able to actually do. And if they need credit repair, we can help you with that too. If you go on to the community site, you're going to see a guy named Paul Ritter out there. He helps people across all 50 states, by the way, with credit repair and how to actually qualify for loans. In fact, I'll give you a big hint here. On June 13th, the webinar of that week, which is a Tuesday, Paul Ritter is going to be on as a guest, and he's going to show you guys how to get your clients qualified. So you definitely want to be on that one too. In any case, you qualify them. Now, assuming you've interviewed them, you've qualified them, and they're like ready to go, here's what you're going to do. You're going to ask them to send you an email recapping your conversation that you had with them in their own words. Very, very important. What this does is, number one, it gets you valuable information from their perspective that helps you do a better job serving them, okay? You want that, and you want that from their perspective. But something else is this. The fact that they followed your instruction is a pretty good indicator that they're willing to commit. In other words, they showed you a small commitment. And you've all heard her saying small commitments lead to big commitments, right? So the fact that they're willing to commit on a small scale means you're more likely to want to be able to commit when it really counts out in the field. All right. Another one is called engagement. Because of the way you presented yourself in a more business-like manner, they're engaging with you on a more even level. They think of you as a valuable member of their team to help them build wealth and income with real estate. Okay. Now, the third thing is this. The fact that they did the thing that you asked them to do, and actually give me, I want you guys to type this in your question box. The fact that they followed, the fact that they did the thing you asked them to do is a pretty good indicator to you that when it really counts out in the field, they'll be more likely to be willing to take what? And just type in your answer. Type it in the question box. Let me see how many of you. Action, absolutely. Some of you are probably pretty new. Yeah. Well, everybody's saying they're interested in the classroom. Okay, that's good. So if you definitely want to do that, definitely make sure and register fast, guys, because the registrations on that one are kind of going quickly. So just make sure you you register for that. Okay. Okay, let me go down here. Everybody is saying the right thing. You're right. Action, probably the most important thing. People who are willing to take action are the ones who are getting results. And your clients get results. We as agents make money, okay? All right, so we've got that set up. Now, once we get that back, there's one step in here that's not in here I want to interject. You should actually always get your clients in an agreement, a buyer's agency agreement in the case of working with people picking up properties, okay? With the listing agreement, that's kind of obvious. With buyers, a lot of us agents don't do that, and you actually should do it. And there's benefits to the buyer, by the way, to do that. So number one is that it guarantees that you're going to keep their information confidential. It also gives you incentive to actually go to bat for them, okay, do some work for them. And the other thing too is this: if you have a prospect that you're going to go ahead and decide to work with, but you have some type of reservations, you don't exactly know why, do this. Let's say they're one of those no money down owner financing guys. They're doing hard money loans and all that. I'm not knocking them. That stuff actually works. It just works very poorly. The challenge is it makes our jobs a lot more difficult. I'm an investor too. Believe me, I've done all that type of investing. And it just creates more work for us, and it's more of a challenge, and they're really not that qualified. If they got to get hard money loans, that means they're not qualified. They're financially, they're probably strapped, and they could easily find themselves in a disastrous situation pretty quickly. So in any case, what you want to do is this, and actually please write this down. As soon as they email you back, they follow your instruction, they send you the email back with a recap of the conversation. Now you know that they're willing to take action, they're committing, they're willing to commit, and they're engaged. For those people that you're not so certain of, you should send them all a buyer's agency agreement, no doubt about it. But the ones that you question, do this. In your buyer's agency agreement, and you could even do it as an addendum or an attachment, okay, is require a retainer. Now, in some states, you cannot ask for a retainer. Retainer is like $500 that gets applied to the first commission. Just check with your local board, your state's board. They'll tell you if you can. Most states you can do it. There is some debate in New Jersey. For those of you, Roger from New Jersey, I called the state. They said, yes, you can do it. And I talked to our broker. They said, no, you can't. Talked to another broker. They said, yes, you can. I would just confirm it first. In most states, you can ask for a retainer that gets applied to the first commission. Okay. The other thing I asked for is a minimum commission. In other words, I need to make sure I'm making a minimum amount of money for my effort to support this investor who's making money. So what I asked for is a minimum commission of 10% on the ones where people are buying junkers and things like that. Now my minimum commission is, it used to be $2,000, then it was $3,000, then it went up to $5,000. Just depends on what marketplace you're in. If you're from Dayton, Ohio, your average home price, at least a couple years ago, was only 70,000. So your average commission is only 2,000. If you're in, downtown Manhattan, there's certain zip codes in Manhattan, and actually some of you are, in fact, where the average home is $6, $7, $8 million. You don't need a minimum commission there. You're going to guaranteed you're going to make a ton of money. All right. But regardless, in the areas where you have a really low average commission, require a minimum, okay, either amount or a percentage or some combination. Now, what this does is this. If they sign it, now you've got yourself a real winner. If they're willing to commit, engage, take action, and they're also willing to compensate you for your efforts. The ones who don't do it, chances are they're really not going to be, they're going to be kind of a pain in the neck anyways, let's face it. So this is a process where they weed themselves out. You separate the wheat from the chaff by using this technique. Okay, so that's why we really spend so much time on this. Now, some of you might be saying, Gary, I don't know if I've got the confidence to do that right now. Just start with something small, right? Minimum commission of 2,000 or 3,000 and a retainer of only 500. My retainer went up to 2,000 eventually. Okay, but it took me a long time to give myself permission to do it too. And the first one I did it on, the guy said, yeah, he had no problem with it. It was amazing. I thought I was holding myself back out of fear. So in any case, let's assume you get through that successfully. The next thing you're going to want to do is set them up on the MLS for the basic search based on criteria that meets their needs and wants. So if they're looking for flips, you need to be looking for flipping material. If you're looking for rentals, you got to go in to look for some small rentals, multi-units, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, things like that. Okay. Now just remember, you're not going to get all your inventory from the MLS, but it's just a tool you need to use. In fact, if you follow along with the training and do all the marketing, you'll be able to go under the radar screen to get inventory that's not even on the MLS, like by using a letter, for example. Okay, a lot of success with that. But let's just focus on the MLS for a second. So you set them up on the MLS, and they're going to get their first email that's going to have links to the first batch of properties that meet their criteria. It could be 20, it could be 100. I mean, it just depends on where you are. All right, now here's where the rubber meets the road, and this is where I want you to practice. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the properties in a basic three-step process. Sometimes it's 4 or 5 steps. Okay, so I want you to think of this. Number one is you want to give your clients as much information as you can on these listings. Most of you are able to provide the full listing with photo. I have seen some MLS systems that won't allow you to provide the full listing with photo to your clients. I have no idea why. I think they're just being scarcity minded, because clients love it, particularly investors. Right? They're not going anywhere else. You don't have to worry about that. All right, they're going to work with you. They're going to trust you more because you give them more information. Right? So in any case, you've got the full set of listings. Now, once you've learned this is you working with your client at this point. Now they're a client. You've got them under contract. Okay. The first thing you do is this: you're going to go through the listings, and you're going to compare the list price, what they're asking to sell. The sellers are asking a certain price for the property. You're going to look at the list price of that listing, compare it to, you could use a couple different comparisons. You could either compare it to your average, what your tax assessor believes is the market value for that property. Now, most listings or most MLS systems require you to put in fair market value or appraisal value for tax purposes. Okay. Some of them require you to actually fill in an appraisal value if you actually have one. But just remember, you've got to know your area a little bit. Like, you've got to understand if the value that the listing agent is placing out there, not the list price, the actual value, market value, you got to be able to know if that's an actual legitimate market value. Okay, it has to come from some reliable source, some reliable data source. So what I used to do is this. You'll eventually get used to this too. You'll get used to what price ranges are for certain types of property in certain areas. You'll just basically know the area, and you'll be able to compare the list price with whatever that fair market value is. If the list price is at or higher, we would discard the property. We would just take that listing and discard it. Okay? We're only going to focus on listings that have list prices that are lower than the fair market value for that type of property in that area. That's the first wave of activity, is to do that initial slice. We're going to basically separate the wheat from the chaff, and the first swipe of the blade is get rid of all the properties where the listing price is just too high. And yes, we might miss a deal every now and then. List price is meaningless in and of itself. It really is. But it's very meaningful relative to fair market value, okay? So those two pieces of information together allow you to separate the wheat from the chaff on the first cut. So let's say you narrow it down to 30 properties on this first wave of activity. Everything that's priced above good market value for the area, you discard. Everything is priced below, you keep, okay? Then you move on to stage 2. This is where we get into a little bit more detailed analysis, okay? So at this stage, you're looking at fewer properties, okay? You're going to look at the photographs of the property. You're going to look at lot size, room sizes, any characteristics you can get your hands on, okay? You're also going to start looking at the financials. Now, some listings don't give you all this information. Some of them do. And be aware, guys, now with all the newer MLS systems, a lot of times the listing agent on rentals will supply an attachment that provides you the rent roll or whatever the rents are. They don't have to give you a full-blown rent roll. They'll give you income expense data. You want all that information, right? Now, this information was relative to a market that was sort of not as low price as Dayton, Ohio, but sort of like Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, those types of areas, to what we call the Rust Belt cities, okay? And those rents are actually low now. The rents on those areas, but you guys would be really surprised at what's been happening in Buffalo, for example. I mean, a lot of those areas, man, it's just going up and up and up. It's amazing. So in any case, let's just say this is our model. You're looking for rents in these areas where maybe you're getting $400 to $500 for a one-bedroom, maybe you're getting $450 to $650 for a two-bedroom, maybe you're getting $600 to $750 for a three-bedroom. Now, obviously, if you're in Manhattan, or you're in Toronto, Vancouver, LA, whatever, these rents, you'll never see these rents here. Your rents are going to be a lot higher. I mean, I know I lived in Toronto this past summer, an area called the Danforth, and I mean, for a tiny little two-bedroom studio, we were forking out, I think it was like $1,600 a month or something, which was very, very affordable for up there. It was just a temporary thing, and it's a kind of a nice area, actually, if you know the area. Matter of fact, if any of Canadians are online, let me know if you've ever been to the Danforth. Any case, so back to this. Let's say those are the rents you're getting in your area for those size units, one bedroom, two bedroom, three bedroom. You're looking for the rents on your listing to be commensurate with those market rents for your area, okay? Now, if it doesn't mean, if they're way too high, it doesn't mean you necessarily discard the property. If they're way too low, it doesn't mean necessarily discard the property. You just need to find out why, okay? If the property is too high priced for rents, you may have more vacancies. If it's too low priced, it may mean there's problems with the unit, okay? Now, there's other information you got to look at. You've got to look at expenses also. So you've got property taxes, you've got insurance. Typically, you've got on rentals, you might be paying water, sewage, and garbage if you have a multi-unit. If you're renting a single-family home, we always would have the tenants be responsible for everything other than taxes and insurance, okay? In any case, you need to know what those numbers are for your area. What would be a reasonable number for insurance? What would be reasonable for taxes? And then look and see that the numbers for the subject property are in alignment with those values, okay? Now, another thing to look at too with multi-units is the average price per unit. Again, these are low for most of you, and this is information that was from an area that's one of the lower priced areas in the country, okay? So right now, you might not be able to get a three-bedroom unit for $35,000. Let's say you've got a triplex. That means you could get a triplex for $105,000. I can tell you right now, you'd be hard pressed to do that in most parts of the U.S. and Canada. So right now, you just need to know by looking at what's been selling to see what the average price per unit is for three bedrooms, for two bedrooms, for one bedrooms, studios, whatever the case may be. and you're looking for your properties where the listing price divided by the number of units based on the size of the unit, 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, is commensurate with what's going on in your area. That's why we need data. That's why we need raw data to be able to do these. So just like the note says here, guys, different areas have vastly different pricing models. Just study your own area. It's easy to do, and you'll be able to make adjustments accordingly. So in any case, other variables include the condition of the property. Is it turnkey versus rehab? I like turnkey rentals. I don't want to go in there and have to do a lot of work. I want a little bit of room for improvement where I can increase the value by raising rents, no doubt about that. But I don't want to take on a huge project, believe me. I can tell you there's a lot of people think I'll get the cheap property, do a huge remodeling on it, and I'll save some money. Just know this, the larger the rehab project, the more risk there is. All right, there's more that can go wrong. There's more delays that occur. Everything costs you money. Okay, so in any case, you gotta learn to develop your instincts on this, and you're focusing on the best of the best. You're not looking for the cheapest. You're not looking for the most expensive. You're looking for the opportunities that collectively, when you look at all these factors, make the best sense. In any case, let me catch my breath here because I just gave you a lot, but just know this: that second phase there, okay, is going to cut your list way, 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 way down. All right, and now you're left with only the best of the best properties. So let's say the remaining list is 10 to 15 properties. All right. I don't know about you guys, but there's no way I'm going to go look at 10 to 15 rentals on a Saturday, all right? Or even if they're multi-units, it's even going to take longer than that. So what we do at this point is we have your clients, you're going to have your clients email you the resulting MLS numbers of these final 10 to 15 properties. Maybe they can narrow it down further, right? They're going to do that by doing a drive-by list, by the way. They're going to go, once you've done the initial swipe of activity, they narrow it down. Your client does the drive-by, not you. This is not the owner-occupant business. This is an investor business, and they're the ones investing money and making the big bucks, so they need to do some drive-bys here, right? And out of that group, they're going to send you the remaining numbers. Now, at that point, you're going to go and check their homework. Make sure they didn't miss anything. Make sure there's nothing obvious, any big blatant challenges or problems. And you're going to move fast here because the good properties are not going to last, right? So what you do is you check the homework, and everything that looks like it's a go, keep it on your final list. Anywhere between, I say, a minimum of 4 properties. I like to look at least 5 myself, and no more than 7. 6 is the actual magic number. Here's what we discovered. The human brain is actually challenged to retain information on more than 6 properties. It's just something we've learned over all the 31 years we've been doing this, okay? 6 happens to be the magic number. So you're going to schedule appointments to go look at these 6 properties, okay? Now, in the case of rentals, sometimes I prefer to do them on a Saturday. I generally do everything Monday through Friday, don't get me wrong. But the reason I like looking at rentals on a Saturday is the tenants are home. And I actually like that because I can ask them questions. Hey, how long you been here? Ask them what their rent is. Take notes, because when you get all the financials on the property, you want to cross-check what the owner is telling you with what the tenants are telling you. You can find out, hey, is there any deferred maintenance here? I mean, if you have a regular problem with the tub clogging up or anything like that, get all the information you can get. You'll get that from a property that has actual tenants in it. Okay, kind of a neat little trick there. So in any case, you make your appointments, right? You go look at all the properties. This is now finally the rubber meets the road here. This is where you get intimately involved with the process. So you schedule the appointments. You go look at the properties with your client. They're the ones using the worksheets to do the analysis. They're looking through the property with you, making notes of any deferred maintenance, okay? The overall condition is the carpeting okay now, but it's going to need to be replaced in 1 to 3 years. You definitely need to make sure your clients note those things, because that's a capital improvement that's going to take some money that they need to have when the time comes that they need it. Okay, they need to prepare for that. So they're going to document all this stuff, and at the end of the day, okay, they should have a full set of analysis on those properties, and you want to help them narrow it down to at least one and no more than four. I generally like to shoot for no more than three, because typically they can't buy all three or four. They can buy one of them. And you don't want to be making a bunch of offers that you can't back up. If your investor can buy one property, make one offer at a time. Don't make multiple offers on different properties, because if you can only buy one, it'll damage your reputation. Other agents will get used to you doing that, and they'll want to stop. They won't want to work with you anymore, all right? So in any case, you're going to narrow everything down, all right? Your clients are now got this homework that they've done on, say, 7 properties. You know, at the end of the day, here's where the most important thing occurs. Never, ever, ever do this. Never say, hey, that was a great day. We got a lot of good information. Give me a call whenever you're ready to move forward. Don't ever, ever, ever do that. What you want to do is just say, look, let's get out your sheets of paper. If you're driving a truck, lower down the tailgate. If you're in a regular car, go to a Starbucks, or go to a Panera Bread, or go to your office, or just basically, you know, go out on, lay these out on the trunk of your car or on the hood of your car. Lay the properties out, all the final ones, okay? And this is I really want you to pay attention. This is the most important thing. You can do this one of two ways. You can lay the properties out all together in one view. Let's say there's 6 of them, okay? What you want to do is just take this approach. Say, look, if you can only buy one, which one of these can you most easily live without? If there's one here, if you could buy 5 out of 6, if there's 6 properties, which one would you do without? Take that property, red ink, cross through it, or ball it up and throw it in a trash bag. It's cathartic, and what it does is it shows them that property is no longer on their range top. It's no longer on the radar screen, okay? And you keep doing that till you narrow it down to maybe one, but possibly 2 or 3. What you're trying to do is get it to the point where they're like, you know, I can't make up my mind. I want this one, I want that one, I want the other one. Now you know you got it narrowed down. The other approach is this. You just simply compare 2 at a time, side by side, and say, okay, between these 2, which one can you not live without? And you keep that one and discard the other one, and keep doing that process until you've narrowed it down as far as you can go, probably 1 to 3 properties, okay? All right, now, let me just take a quick pause here and let that sink in for you. I wanted you to catch up on your notes. Here's the next most important step. You always set the stage for the next step. So what you do is this. You just went through 3 phases. Desktop analysis on properties to narrow it down, drive-bys for your clients, actually looking at properties with your client, okay, and now going through a narrowing down process to get it down to the precious few that you're going to actually make a move on. And what you do is this. You say, okay, I want you to go home. This is you speaking to the client. I want you to go home, review these final 3 or final 4 in this example here, and go through all of your notes, all your calculations, and make sure you're comfortable with all those notes and calculations. Scan them to me. You're going to have them email them to you, and you're going to call them. You're going to say, I'm going to call you at 9 o'clock tonight. So go home, have some dinner, get the kids settled, and take your time and go through this, and let's get on the phone at 9 o'clock. And they're going to email the stuff to you, so you're going to be able to look on the computer to see what they're seeing and walk through the final set of 2, 3, 4, whatever the case is, okay? And get it down to that one that you're going to absolutely have to make an offer on, all right? And here's what you do. You say, okay, I agree. This looks like I think it's a great deal for you based on the work that you did, the analysis that you did. Remember, they're making a decision. So bear in mind, this is a mind shift. A lot of us are used to doing a lot of this work for our clients. The challenge is you don't want to do that with investors. You want to give them the tools, the information, the inventory they need to guide them, consult with them, advise them to get through that process themselves, because they're the one making the decision. Let's say you fell in that trap. Go find me a good deal. All right. How many of you have had that happen? If you just typed it in and say, yep, I've been there before. Go find me a good deal. What happens if you suggest a deal to somebody and 6 months later it ends up not being such a good deal? What's going to happen? Who are they going to blame? yeah, they're going to blame you. They could actually file a complaint, which could harm your credibility and your reputation. So in any case, they make the final decision. All right. All you do is just say, okay, I'm going to write this up right now. It's probably about 9:30 at this time. Tell them I'm going to write it. You're going to write up the offer. You're going to send it to it electronically. They need to print that off, or if you're using Dotloop or some other electronic signing tool, have them sign it, return it to you with a copy of their hand money check, and if they're getting a loan, proof of funds, so pre-qualification letter from a lender. If they're using all cash, you need to demonstrate that they actually have all cash. Okay. Now you've got your offer that they've signed. You prepared it. They've signed it. Sent it back to you. Go ahead and submit that offer literally that night before you go to bed, and the other agent's going to have that sitting in their in basket when they get in the morning. That, my friends, is how you go through the process to find the best of the best properties, working with investors who are action takers and put them in a position where they're taking action on the best of the best. That means you get paid. So let's do this. I want to bring my panel back over and look in the question box. So hang on just 1 second. Let me see here. Let's see. Andy, hey Andy, how you doing, buddy? Let me go. I've got to go back up here because we have a lot of questions. I knew this was going to happen. So hang on just 1 second. Okay, so this is Deb Oxley. Hi, Deb. So Deb is asking, okay, how do you handle an out-of-state client who can't drive by? Do you jump to the next step somehow, and do you FaceTime the buyer on each showing? So Deb, yeah, if you have an international investor, you're going to have to do that yourself. There's just no two ways about it. Now, what I did is I eventually had people working with me, like I had buyers agents, showing agents, things like that. I would just pay a showing agent to go out there and do the drive-bys, okay, take pictures, and actually do it on like film it, do the video, like on your phone, do a video, and they can upload it to YouTube or upload it to Facebook and Facebook it to me, and we would share it with the client. Okay, that's what we would do. If you had to do it yourself in the beginning, just do it yourself. It's not that big a deal, but make sure you record everything. like don't just take notes. Actually record it. At a minimum, take pictures and take notes. But I suggest you do little video clips. Okay, and then you can put it on YouTube or share it on Facebook with your client. And then you can get on the phone with them and walk through. So Deb, at least they're now involved with the process. It's just you're providing them the film or the video of the walkthrough, but they're actually going through it over the computer. Okay, so that's how we do that. Good question, Deb. By the way, that's an awesome question. Okay, so this next one is Andy. All right, Andy is asking, Gary, hang on 1 second. I presume. Whoops. Hang on 1 second, Andy. I got to start over. Okay, Gary, I presume it's unlikely that if you give an investor or client a list containing addresses so they can drive by, is the client would bypass you, the agent, and try to negotiate a lower price with the seller. Yeah, Andy, I mean, anything's possible, but remember, you're getting these people under contract. Okay, that's why we do the contract, to protect you, make sure you earn your commission. Number one. Number two is, if you establish a relationship correctly, that's usually not. I've never had that happen with me, ever, not once. So it's not an issue. The fact is if a property is listed, okay, and they're driving by and they see somebody out cutting the grass and they stop and talk to them, both of them, including the seller, could get in trouble for trying to cut out the agents. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but you can certainly sue them, and it does happen. I mean, we've had agents actually sue and get compensated. Okay, you actually put a lien on the property. So what happens? It's a pretty amazing thing to watch it happen. But in any case, two things. Always make sure you're working with people that you want to work with. Number one, and number two is get them under contract. If you're the listing agent, obviously you got to have a listing agreement. Otherwise, you can't list it for sale. On the buyer side, get them under a buyer's agency agreement. So in any case, let's see here. Let's see. Need to this program. Do I need to share all the research sites with my investors who I work with, such as Melissa Data, zipcodes.com, etc.? And this is Shan. Hey, Shan. Yeah. what we generally do, Shannon, is we show our clients how to use this information because it's public information, number one. The difference is you're the one actually showing them how to do this, so it kind of sets you apart from other agents. And the fact is that the good investors are going to appreciate this. The matter of fact that they're going to hold you at a high level of esteem. They're going to basically it improves your credibility, right? When you show them the school report, when you show them the list of data, things like that. Here's the principle, and I know it goes back to scriptures, but the bottom line is, guys, is this: whoever you're working with, and think of yourself. Think if you were a client, all right? Would you be better off just somebody handing you a fish? Would you be better off somebody teaching you how to fish? So the difference is you eat once for free versus eating for a lifetime on your own, okay? So you want to teach them how to do these things because they're more educated. They become actually better clients, okay? They still need you. You've got the license, remember? And you've got to get them the inventory, right? That's your job. But they're the ones that have to go through and decide this is a good or not a good investment by using the tools, the information, the inventory that you're giving them. That's how you do the business, okay? So absolutely, yeah, share that with them. Okay, Maxine, yep, I agree, Maxine. That's exactly how you do it. So we have students who already are doing this, and they will tell you guys, man, it'll change how you think about investors. It'll change how you work with them, and you can begin to select the people you want to work with and deselect the ones you don't want to work with. So if somebody basically, pulls the wool over your eyes or they cut you out, good Lord, I mean, that should never happen to begin with, but if it does, obviously they just showed you with their behavior, they're always going to be living in scarcity, okay? So John's got to go to an appointment. Okay, John, hey, you sent me a message, I think. Yes, you did, right before the webinar. So I'm going to give you a call, and it has to do with a location. Actually, John, I'll just tell you. So some parts of the country, the libraries do actually charge now. It's usually a nominal fee, $75. Just remember this, guys, John and everybody else. When you go to a library to reserve a room, you got to make sure you do two things. Number one is you assure them your event is nonprofit. You're not charging any fee, any dues. You're not selling anything. Number two, it's community oriented. You're actually serving investors in the community. When you do that, number one, you'll get the room. If you don't convey that information, they won't give you a room, okay? It's just in some cases they do charge. So John, you can also use a church or mosque or synagogue if you're a member of a local church, mosque, or synagogue, typically for free. You can also get a room at your local municipal building for free. Same thing, it's got to be a free workshop. You can't make this, you can't charge any fee or dues. You can use sometimes the local public schools, elementary schools, will make their rooms available for public events as long as it serves as long as it's community oriented, what you're doing, which it is, you're serving investors and community, and it's nonprofit. Okay, you can get rooms at schools. And the final thing, John, is this: you can actually use your office. You can use your whatever you're, if you're with Remax or Coldwell Maker, all of you are on these webinars. Of course, KW and Berkshire Hathaway. You can use your office conference room or your office training room. We have a lot of agents do that successfully. I generally like the libraries, and I'm willing to pay $75 because, quite frankly, the library conveys a very positive message, which is this is a learning environment. This is instructional, okay? And your office, as soon as they drive up and they see Remax or KW or whatever, they might it might raise their guard. They might be more like hesitant. Okay, what's this about, right? Go to a library, it's a learning environment. It's wonderful. Okay, Michelle is asking, what is MAO? So Michelle, MAO stands for maximum allowable offer. That's the most you can offer on a property and still make money on that property. In fact, Michelle, that's in your training material, and let's go over that. We'll go over that maybe we'll do that next week. How about that? We'll do that next week. We'll go over that, how do you actually know what is a good flip? Good question. Okay. Deborah says that's a good idea. Thank you, Deborah. Okay, so let's see. The next one is Miho. Hi, Miho. Miho's asking, okay, Gary, how can I utilize this program? I want to find agents who can work with my client My client is interested in discount properties in Alabama, Texas, Atlanta. We live in LA. So Mijo, go to the community site, back here. Okay, let me go back up there. Hang on one second. So you go to the silver level membership section, on the My Investment Services website. Click on this. It takes you to the community site. And if you haven't done this, this is where you log in. If you haven't done it, for anybody for that matter, watch this webinar. This right here. Click on this right here. It shows you how to create your profile on the community site. And then on the community site, Mijo, you'll find we've got some great students. I mean, all these places you just mentioned here. Hang on, let me see what you mentioned. Alabama, my gosh. There's 3 of my favorite students are in Hoover, Alabama. There's 3 girls together. Beth Arnold, Manisha Munakar, and Tanya Smitherton worked together to put on the first workshop and knocked it out of the park. Texas, we got students in Houston and Dallas, all over the place. College Station, you name it. Atlanta, we've got a bunch of people. As a matter of fact, Siri is on the webinar tonight. She's in Atlanta. She's in north of Atlanta. So just go to that community site and pick out the person you want to work with based on their profile and earn yourself some referral fees, okay? Okay. Hey, Toy, long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Toy is asking, when would you sell one of your own properties? Would you do it as a first sale by owner or list it with your real estate office? So Tori, I would always list my properties for sale through the MLS. I wouldn't necessarily do a for sale by owner because it tends to attract people who aren't necessarily qualified. If they're coming through the MLS, they're usually coming through other agents. I don't mind sharing a small commission with them as long as they're bringing in qualified candidates, and there's a lot more protections involved. In fact, when you're an agent and you sell something by owner, you're allowed to do that. But what happens is now you're no longer doing it inside your brokerage, which means you're not covered by E&O insurance. And something goes wrong, you could find yourself in a heap of trouble, right? So I always like having that protection, that coverage. And also I would generally get a better price on my property by selling it through the MLS. I know because I've done it both ways. You get all the tire kickers coming through, the Fizz people wanting to buy FISBOs, wanting to do all kinds of terms and owner financing and all that. Through the MLS, I get a lot more people, number one. When you're for sale by owner, your advertising is only going to reach a certain percentage of people. When you put it on MLS, all those other agents are bringing in all their clients. It usually drives up the price, which is a wonderful thing. So excellent question, by the way. I like that. Okay, this is Eric. Eric is asking, hang on, here it is. Okay, sorry, Eric. Okay, Gary, is this information ahead of all the new people that's only been through Module 1? Yeah, this actually, what I just gave you tonight, Eric, is actually a Module 2, okay? And you will have access to it once you complete the first module, okay? Miho's saying thank you. You're welcome, Miho. I'm glad to do that. Okay, guys, it is 5 after 7 here Central Time. I'm glad we got through the content tonight. I was afraid we wouldn't be able to, but we did, and we managed to get through a lot of questions. I'll look for you next week. That is going to be on the 6th. No, next week is going to be Monday night the 5th. I will be in Pueblo, Colorado. No, actually, I'm sorry, I'll be in Colorado Springs. I'll be in Mountain Time. And so for next week, what we'll do is we'll go more into Module 2, go over some calculations like maximum allowable offer, things like that, okay? In the meantime, I hope you all have an awesome rest of the week and weekend. I appreciate you doing this and giving me the opportunity to serve you. And all I ask is you give me your best. Just meet me halfway. Give me 1 or 2 hours a week. And I promise you're going to see some tremendous results. So in any case, God bless you too. Thank you guys for saying that. I appreciate that. I hope you have an awesome, awesome weekend, you and your families, and I will see you all soon. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.